Good morning, everyone. This is Kira of Academy. My name is Josh, part of the marketing team. And welcome today, and thank you for joining us at our Ballet podcast with Mr. Du. Our guest today is a beautiful colleague of Mr. Du as well at the Townsend University. She's a professor of dance in the dance department. And we would like to invite her to discuss many topics from being life as a professional dancer to becoming a professor and a successful educator. So we'll invite Mrs. Linda-Denise Fisher-Harrell with Mr. Du. Thank you and enjoy the show.
Hello, Miss Linda. How are you?
Well, Mr. Runshaw, how are you?
I'm doing. I'm doing. I'm doing well. I'm doing well, and I miss this moment. Normally, we'll always have this moment when you walk by my office or I walk by your office. We always have this chat. Sometimes 2 minutes, sometimes 20 minutes. Talk about various topics and heart to heart and sort of a comforting moment in this just busy intense life that we have, and sometimes we talk about our families, and sometimes we talk about our career, and most of the times we talk about young people today.
Yes.
And I miss those moments because it's not only comforting for me but most importantly educational for me.
Yeah.
And as one of the most influential person actually for me when I transitioned myself from a professional dancer to educator, you already did that about 2 years ahead of me. So you were able to give me a lot of invaluable tips, invaluable advice, transforming myself actually from a performer to educator. And those early years are absolutely memorable to me. I just wanted to take a moment to thank you for, in the beginning, I didn't even know what is you have to write what syllabi, how do you do it? So you say, this is how you do it. This is how you create an annual portfolio. This is how you do it. And I just want to thank you for that. Really, and those knowledge are so important. Now I am in another role. And of course, I'm still a professor because this is a profession that I love most, because we're going to talk about a little bit more why I love my job in Towson. But I take those advice, I take those knowledge to in Kirov Academy's training, in Kirov Academy set up as a school. And I think I have been doing well and make differences in terms of how to transform today's artistic educational environment to meet today's particular environment and what is industry expected from our young person, not only artistically but actually politically.
Yeah.
When you and I talk about this interview, and I about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I list a few questions that we want to talk about, and I have this list right in front of me. But today, I actually wanted to take this opportunity to give all of us a platform to express some of our feelings. And I think it is important to have all of our voice to be heard. And you are one of the people that I know, I call it grassroots, really in the trenches, are making a difference every single day. From talking with the students, giving students advice, you teach our seniors and make them aware what are their responsibilities upon graduation and how to prepare themselves in school to entering the real life, in what kind of attitude, what kind of preparation that they need. So I wanted to open up, Miss Linda. As an artist and an educator, Miss Linda, in your opinion, what is today's young dancers' responsibilities to drive the direction in making the long-lasting and the meaningful changes? I am talking about industry expectations. I'm talking about meaningful, long-lasting changes in the outlook of the industry, of all industry, to prevent equal playing field for all people. And
Wow.
this is a big question, but I do want to open up with that.
Um, God, I'm going to start with teachers.
Yes.
I start there
Mhm.
because our jobs are so important. I never realized it until I became a dance educator myself. We have the power to inspire, along with instructing. And sometimes that can go to the dark side as well. Sometimes I've had friends who've danced, throughout high school, and then they leave high school and they say, I hate it, or there's a teacher that made me hate it, which breaks my heart. So I think as teachers and as educators, please see your students. And what I mean is acknowledge all of your students, regardless of their color, regardless of their income bracket. See them, like really actually see them and what they have to offer, period, to this world. Like that's how we should be instructing them, not just looking at them, oh, her feet or her legs or her what. No, see each and every individual, as important for who they are. So I'll start there because we trickle that down to our students.
Teachers.
Also,
Mhm.
I try to encourage my kids to stay open. Sometimes when you're training in dance, it can become like a tunnel vision. All you can see is the dance class, the dance class, the next dance class, the next dance class. But you are a human being and you are a part of society. You are a part of a community. So stay vigilant, read, watch the news, see what's happening around you. My seniors, I used to take them to Arts Advocacy Day in Washington, D.C., and learn about advocating for the arts and the importance of the NEA and being an advocate for dance. Because if you can't advocate for your own profession or platform, you can't expect others to do that. So I think as dancers, we have to be aware, we have to be social creatures, and be a part of our community so that we can express ourselves fully. Yes, not just about the pretty pictures that we make with our bodies, it's about expressing what's happening in the world.
Mhm. That's going to be actually that's these two things I believe is connected together because we see a lot of works when the students creating the choreographing the way they express themselves, and often I often see that as a way to understand the particular students themselves and as a group. And oftentimes there's a bit of a distance from my expectation and the reality, actually. So as an educator, I take your advice. They are not something I expected where them to do. They should be in where they should be doing. They should be doing. But I wanted to actually to be more interactive to them and be more sensitive in terms of where they are, where they're coming from. And I want to ask you, oftentimes you are a director of Ailey Camp in Towson University. You have done absolutely tremendous job in Ailey Camp is the tool, it's a bridge between the fine art and the students that normally will not have this kind of resources
Mhm.
to be educated in this way. And you have been doing this for many years. And I want you to share a little bit with us in terms of how that is meaningful, because I want to talk about education, because that's a one whole other area that we need to address, education.
Um,
Can you talk to us a little bit about how meaningful that is?
Oh my God. So I've been directing Ailey Camp Baltimore since 2014. And it is a self-empowerment day camp for kids ages 11 to 14 years old. So we're talking middle school. And I don't even know where to begin as far as how rewarding it's been. So a lot of my kids, maybe they've danced before, maybe they haven't, but they like the idea of it. Um, we present it as a form of self-expression and a way to enter discipline, but it's also a way for them to be heard. As young people, they
Yes,
have a
yes.
personal development class where they talk about different issues that are affecting them personally. And so they're able to be heard. Imagine that, at that age when so many things are happening in their head and they actually get a chance to get them out and realize that they are supported. We create a community where they feel very safe and supported, but we push them within all techniques that they're learning. So they're learning West African, modern, ballet, jazz, and completely exhausted and happy at the end of the day. And so I've watched children come in and kind of, they're kind of interested in moving and become so in love with it and so empowered that the next thing I know, they're auditioning for the Baltimore School for the Arts. The next thing I know, they're graduating high school and going to Point Park and these other fabulous places. And just watching them grow, I don't even know how to express how that tickles me. I'm also an instructor at the Baltimore School for the Arts. So sometimes my Ailey campers are there and I'll be there teaching a class and I'll hear Miss Linda and they come running down the hall, almost tackling me, with a hug. And I can't even tell you how rewarding that is to see them moving in such a positive direction. And I know they got their roots and their self-esteem, not just from home, but also with the things and the tools that we provide them from camp. So it's so powerful.
It's empowering the arts to the dancers at this point. It becomes a tool of expression.
Yes.
So they learn how to express themselves through art of dance. So therefore, just that few weeks in the summertime, that kind of enrichment, that kind of education have created so many successful stories.
Yes.
Imagine this kind of educational environment is provided throughout the year, perhaps longer lasting and more funded. Imagine this kind of impact will create.
Right.
So it is a lot of work on your end, but nonetheless, it is absolutely successful. And this is just a window to see the perfect example, to see a program, well-run program, artistic program, how much opportunity can create for young people and in a positive direction. And I segue into this another question I wanted to goes into it. Now, looking back, what would you say to your dancer self? If you look back, look at yourself as a dancer, and what you would have done differently. Now, you have one of the most successful career, and it's just respected by the industry, dancers, teachers, choreographers, you name it. And you're still dancing. Last time you were on stage just less than 6 months ago in Lincoln Center. I mean, it's just like an incredible, just long-lasting, overlapping, teaching, performing. You never stopped. So for me, it's a representation. It's a perfect. I come from another country. My path was a little bit different. But your path, it represents a perfect, beautiful development. And but looking back as a dancer, you're a young dancer yourself, what would you do differently? I don't think there's many things you should be doing differently, but I wanted to just ask that question.
It's a really good question. Looking back, like some of the advice that I just gave about being more socially conscious, and being more a part of a community. I had that tunnel vision when I was in school. I was like, I need to get trained. I need to get trained. I wanted to dance, as opposed to taking in more of the museums, more of the history of each place that I traveled to, really taking advantage of all of those things. I think I would have done that differently. I would have stayed in college. I did leave early and joined Hubbard Street Dance Chicago, which was great. And so it's really hard. Like hindsight is always 2020, but my career path went the way it went because God wanted it to go that way, and if I didn't go with Hubbard Street, who knows what I would have missed out on. So, but I think I would have stayed in school. That's another thing. Please go to college. Please. Because when I left, or when I retired from being a full-time professional dancer, I wanted to teach, and you have to have those certain guidelines and basis, for education, especially if you want to teach in higher ed and all that stuff. So I think I would have stayed there a
But you
little.
succeeded. You have a master
Yeah,
in performing arts. So you succeeded. There is another way to do it,
it's another
correct?
way. So it's really difficult to say, oh, I would have done this or I would have done that. I I worked really hard. Like I remember being a very serious student. Like I wasn't out there just rolling around. Like I was very focused, and I think I appreciate that. Now in the latter years, I appreciate how much I wanted to absorb from each teacher. Even when I'm in your class, I'm like this. I'm like on the that's a practice that I think I developed over the years. If I'm in the space and the teacher is teaching, I'm trying to, like a sponge, get all of
Perfect
the
student.
things out of you. Like always, when you say get ready, I'm ready. So
Yeah,
I
perfect student.
I don't think that I would change too much. Just maybe taking
No.
advantage of more, being a part of more.
Mhm.
Maybe doing some more community outreach when I was younger. But I think
Mhm.
that's it.
Mhm. I mean, knowing you as a colleague, we never danced together, but I know knowing you as a person, as a teacher, and sometimes as a student, if you stepped in my ballet class, I can totally envision what you were like as a dancer, as a student, because you were a perfect student in my class, and everything that I'm preaching every single day, you're doing it. And often when you leave, I always tell my students, I say, look at this. This is an example of how you're supposed to take technique class. You take the correction more diligently than the students. And you didn't have to do it. You and I colleagues.
Yeah.
So knowing that, there's two things that I think for success in career, talent and discipline. These two things you must have, which is you are the perfect example of talent and discipline. Because I met a roommate of yours when you were in graduate school.
Uh-oh.
Yes, another dancer, because you guys were in the same program together. Uh,
Rachel? Rachel
uh,
Burton.
I, and she says, "Oh, she says, Linda, every time she said, I wake up in the night and it's something and I look over and Linda's steady." And I can't imagine this kind of you have to work hard, young people today. And I actually just really looking back, and I want to bring this out to the dancers today. Talent is not enough. You have to work hard.
Hmm.
So that thing is it's universal
You
in
know,
terms of
what too? I think as a part of my teaching philosophy, within this, I'm not a spring chicken anymore, and that's cool. That's cool. But I think I'm still a professional artist. I'm still a dancer. So I think um, my students are looking at me. They're looking as an example. They're looking and saying, well, how does she conduct herself within her body, within her instrument, the way it operates now? That's a
yeah,
huge contribution to education. They get a chance
yeah,
to see, okay, so she fell out of that pirouette, but oh, look how she regrouped for the next thing. You know what I mean? So even in this
mhm,
aging body, I'm going through arthritis now and all that good stuff, but I think my kids need to see me go through that. They need to see me navigate, okay, my legs don't go as high anymore, or I can't bump my up to here anymore, but how do I negotiate all of those things within this instrument? I think it helps them because hopefully I want them to continue to dance. Like this dance thing is not a 20s game, or once you're over 35 it's over. No, no, no. We're not expendable that way. We still have things to say. Maybe the body is going to say it differently, within whatever it's given at the time. And so I think by me still trying to stay in my dance practice. And I do try. If there's a ballet class and I'm not teaching a class,
Yeah.
I'm in it. I try to navigate. I also learn about my students because I'm in class with them. I can see how they're absorbing material, right? And I'm going, okay, I can help. Okay, maybe I can help her. When I'm giving my material in my class, I think I need to do this, or I need to do X, or I need to do Z for that student. But I think being an example to your students is huge, especially as an African American woman. I really think it's important for my kids, especially my African American kids, to see, oh, she's moving. Oh, this is how you do it. Oh, okay. You got to be excellent. Okay, I get it.
Right.
So being that example is definitely a part of my pedagogy and my teaching philosophy. Even with a body that can't do things as well as it used to, I'm still valid. I think that's what I'm trying to teach my students.
And not only, I have to say, not only in the studios, but how you conduct yourself as a person throughout. I think students viewing us not only when we're teaching them, but also our personal conduct as
Absolutely.
well, including our political views, including how we deal with trauma,
Yeah.
how we comfort ourselves and each other, how gracious we are, how compassionate we are, all those topics. Teachers also have to be exemplary for students. And this is sometimes a lot of families, this is something that I experienced. A lot of students look at us teachers, not only teach them about entendus and period, but also for a moral support. They're looking for a direction in terms of how we present ourselves in society.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I go back to as a teachers, that the responsibility not only giving a correct technical advice and corrections, but also how to direct your students to be a compassionate, gracious, generous, and good person,
Absolutely.
compassionate person. I think to me that's also very important, and that you have absolutely be exemplary for all of the students that come across you, either BSA or Ailey Camp or Towson University.
I think the key to that is listening to them. Like you walk in the room and sometimes you feel the air is thick. Like something's going on. And if they're connected to society and if they're connected to what's going on, you kind of know. And so it's not about me pushing any of my views on my students. I think what I always try to do is have an open dialogue. How you guys doing? Like sometimes we'll spend 20 minutes talking, like before we even roll down or, do a plie. How you guys doing? And I learn so much from my students. It's not a one-way thing and I'm giving and I'm giving. I'm learning how they're interpreting everything around them. It's such an education for me. I like to think that it keeps me young, but I give them the opportunity to dialogue and express themselves. What's going on and how do you guys feel about that? Sometimes there's a little conflict in class, but that's cool. And we're able to listen to each other, and support one another. And I think that's really important. And they learn that. It's brilliant that they can learn that in a dance class. Like imagine that, we're not moving our bodies, but we're shifting our minds at the same time. And I think by creating that safe space in class, the students feel empowered. Even if technically they're not the best student in the class, they still feel safe and safe enough to move with expression.
Totally agree. Speaking of expression, you are one of the most expressive dancer. I mean, even just when I see you marking with some pieces, so guest choreographer comes, and when I see you marking to the side, I often, she's just marking. Can you imagine she does this full out? And of course, you have done some of the most important works of Mr. Ailey. Can you share with me a little bit what was some of your most memorable moments on stage? And the follow-up question is that what was your favorite Mr. Elvin Ailey's piece and why?
Okay. I would say, and this is not, y'all, I'm not being corny. I kid you not. I think I was very aware that I was in the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater. Like I knew it. I was like, somebody pinch me. I was like that for 13 years. Somebody pinch me. Pinch me.
Yeah, the
I
reminder is there
all
every moment.
every moment. I knew it. I was tickled. So no matter when I went on stage, I was surrounded by superheroes. Like I had the most incredible dancers dancing around me, with me, lifting me, the most incredible tech crew, in the wings, making all of these things happen. So I really savored that. I really, really appreciate that. Some of the most memorable moments that I've had on stage, hands down, has to be when Matthew Rushing and Renee Robinson and I were invited to dance at the White House. The president of Kenya was in town, and GW, George Bush, invited us because he wanted to have a state dinner for them. Sorry. And then we show up at the White House, and I'm telling you, we had been on a tour. So we had been out for like 6 weeks. We were in Europe somewhere. I think like Geneva was the last place. When you get on tour, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, here's another stage, here's another this, here's another that. And so we just got on another plane and went to another city, Washington, D.C., and got out and checked into the hotel. And then, okay, we show up at the venue, and then we get on stage, and I open my eyes. I have like so many dignitaries that you only see on C-SPAN, sitting in my face, and Laura Bush and George Bush are sitting in the front row. It was like, oh, it's that kind of performance.
You didn't know? You didn't know earlier? You didn't know? Who's the audience?
I was on such a tour grind, where
You just thought that's another performance. Yes.
another performance, and we checked out the venue and before and we spaced it. But once you get out on stage and the people are there, people who through watching.
You can see, yeah.
Like Colin Powell was there, like in the front row. Like it was crazy. I mean, it was really crazy. And just to hear the thunderous applause, even from people who are so, high up, and getting to meet George Bush and him coming to us and saying, Laura drags me to a lot of stuff. And some stuff I really call it, this was good. Y'all was good. It really just took the time out to tell us exactly which moments within our performance that he enjoyed. That was crazy. That was one of my most memorable, having that honor, because that was surreal.
I see a picture in your office. I saw the picture in your office.
Hanging up and crazy. And one of my favorite, I've had the wonderful opportunity to dance a lot of Mr. Ailey's ballets and other choreographers. And there are two pieces that are near and dear to me, and that's Cry and Memoria. And Cry is like 17-minute long solo. So you have to be interesting for 17 minutes, not an easy task. But I think as I grew and matured within that role, I think I performed it for like 9 or 10 years that I was in the company. It became therapeutic for me to dance it because I would have so much to say personally. I had some personal conflicts going on, things that were going on in the world. It gave me that outlet to just get it out, like throw it all onto the Marley, throw it all at the audience. Maybe they can feel it, maybe they can absorb it and take some of it away. I would just feel dead, but refreshed at the same time. And the same thing goes for Memoria. That lead character, that Joyce Tristler character, kind of goes through a journey, and just having that moment of solitude on stage and working through a piece and getting to the end and feeling so triumphant. It was selfishly, it was therapeutic for me.
Yes, yes,
You know, to get a lot of things out. And the
yes.
choreography is so brilliant. The
Yes,
choreography, the choreography did it. Like I only like
yes.
added a layer, but the choreography, the brilliance of the choreography was already there. And so I never took advantage of anybody's choreography. I've always wanted to make sure that I'm sending out the choreographer's message the best way I can, but especially with Mr. Ailey's works. I knew how important those things were. Shoot, Judah Jamison coached me and taught me, and you know, so I knew the preservation of legacy and that importance. So I made sure that I stuck to those little details and made sure that I put my heart and soul into them.
How did you navigate, let's say the solo cry has been danced with Miss Jamison herself
Mhm.
as one of the signature piece in the company? How do you navigate to preserve the integrity, the piece, and your own voice, because you're not trying to dance how Miss Jamison is doing? And
Mhm.
probably you were coached by her as well. How do you artistically navigate that very, it can be treacherous. You know, I have been there too. Just try to integrity, originality, authenticity, at the same time, your own personal, I don't want to say flavor, but personal imprint on the piece. How do you navigate that?
You got to thread that needle. You know how that is. You don't want to
Mhm.
imitate, you know, what somebody's done,
Yeah.
but yet you want to emulate and you want to bring all those characteristics and things that the coach, and in my case it's Judah Jamison, no pressure. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, when
Yeah.
your artistic director is a dance icon, oh my God,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And she is. And what you have to do, I think, because Judy never expected for you to do things exactly like she did it. I think that comes
Okay.
from the artistic director. You know,
Hmm.
look, this is what I did. Let me see what you, okay, that's good. You know, whatever you're doing is good. But yes, you have to, I think it comes from years and years within the role and finding your comfort zone. You know, it takes time. You know, it's not something that you can do with a role right away, because sometimes you're just trying to find the shapes. You're trying to just get through it, stamina wise.
Yes.
But
Yes. In the beginning, for sure.
in that
Hmm.
beginning, you just got to get through it, you know,
Hmm.
and feel what that feels like. And then you can start playing with nuance and you can start going,
Hmm.
okay, look, this section, I'm going to extend this. I'm going to play more with the music. And then you become more and more familiar with the piece of
Hmm.
music, with the costume, because the costume is a whole nother person that you're dancing with,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So I think over time, and along with the freedom from the artistic director, and I think that freedom comes from the amount of integrity you have as an artist. When that artistic director sees an artist of integrity, someone that's not just going to throw things away or kind of haphazardly take a role and do whatever with it, they give you a little bit more freedom. No, go ahead and do. I see you playing with that. Play with that. Do that. That was great. You know, I enjoyed that.
Hmm.
Yeah, I didn't do that, and that's fine. So it's almost like a give and take between you and the artistic director.
Hmm. This is why I bring this. I wanted to address this is my next topic, which is you know, you are a choreographer.
Mhm,
You're a beautiful choreographer, and now you work with the students,
mhm,
set original pieces on them. Now, this is something I wanted to share with the young dancers today, in terms of what attitude they're supposed to have. What is the professional integrity, the professional posture you're supposed to have when you work with a choreographer? Either they are setting an original piece or setting a repertoire piece on you.
mhm,
What is you know, sometimes students are a little bit confused because we want it to be the perfect student. We want to do everything that the teachers tell us to do. But you just touch the topic of bring in your own artistic integrity in working with another person. So this is a beautiful area. Oftentimes I see students who navigate that well get a
Yeah.
good role.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes students just try to be very good student, do everything that what choreographer tells them in the way that not getting a good role, just because that perfect, appropriate collaboration is difficult to achieve. Can you give us a little tip with that? How do
Yeah.
you do it? Because you worked with countless choreographers in your career.
And here's the thing, all of them work differently. Each and every one of them that I've worked with works differently. And I think as an artist and a collaborator, because you have to think of yourself as a collaborator. You can't think of yourself as, oh, I'm the dancer and this choreographer is going to set a piece on me. So I'm going to stand here and wait till they put my body in a space. That's where's the energy? Like you have to be able to give and
Yeah,
take with the
give
choreographer.
and take. Yeah.
Choreographer comes into the place. Sometimes they're not so sure about what they're
Mm-hmm.
going to set at that moment, and sometimes they need
Mm-hmm.
little hints of inspiration. And maybe they
Mm-hmm.
throw out some movement, and you imitate it, or you go through and do it enough times and they go, oh yeah, like that, like I like the way you
Mm-hmm.
did that. But if you don't come to the table open to
Mm-hmm.
collaborate with them, then there's a wall, then there's this
Right, right.
weird
Because this is when I felt myself, it sort of hit the wall because sometimes we need the dancers to finish the second sentence for us, right? We have this beautiful thing in our head. The day before, the night before, we listen to music. We have everything, the playbook. We have everything written. We go to the studio, but I found my steps actually did not pan out the way that I had envisioned in my head.
right.
In this moment, there's only so much I can push my own original language. This is when choreographers rely on the dancers to manipulate that language into their own body.
Yeah.
So this freedom, I think it's important for the dancers, especially young students, to explore
Yeah.
that they all the feel the confidence in their body, in their artistry, in their technique to finish choreographers' sentences.
Yeah.
This
And
is, I think, it's valuable.
they got to get in there with the choreographer. They almost have to roll up
Mhm.
their sleeves with the choreographer and
Mhm.
not go into the space expecting, with the energy like, well, I'm just going to wait until they tell me what to do.
Yeah, that doesn't work.
It doesn't
Mhm.
work.
That
And
doesn't work.
so
Mhm.
choreographers remember helpful people. They remember
Yes.
people who are, oh my God, I had this thought and I couldn't get it out, and she always finished it. I love that about her. When I
Yeah.
go and set a piece in Aspen next summer, I'm taking her with me. She's going to be my assistant. Like
She's right there.
those things trickle down for the good.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
oh, I love the way she gets my material. She gets me. Love her. Got to take. It's not the person with the highest leg or the
No.
most arched foot. It's that person that's the most helpful, right?
Yes.
So I
Yeah.
think dancers, young dancers especially, have to come in and roll their sleeves up with the choreographer, because you never know what their method of creation is going to be. And all of them are different.
Yes.
Every last one of them that I've worked with has comprised or composed their movement differently. And so to me, it was cool. Like, oh, I never thought of creating movement like that. Oh, I wouldn't have thought of
Yeah.
that. Okay, so I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to do a lot of the work. Okay, great, whatever. Either
Yeah.
way, it's about creating a piece. It's about creating something important. So I
Right.
think young dancers really have to stay open and keep their energy positive. When the energy is negative and you're in that
Yeah.
space, the time just goes on forever
Yeah.
because of the negative energy.
Yeah. In order to also, I want to point it out for all the young audience out there, to point it out that in order for you to create this meaningful collaboration, your body has to be in tip-top condition. Your
Come on,
technique has to be there
come on.
because it is a visual thing. It doesn't matter how intellectually you connect with the choreographer. You need to show it, your body. So there goes to the technique part, which is that you are a huge believer of technique, which is I do too. That's the backbone of everything.
Yeah.
So talk about that. Talk about that a little bit, please.
You
The
have
technique class.
you gotta stay in class. Kids, stay in class. Stay in
You
class.
have to.
You have to, because what happens is we stay in class and we're in class and we're in class and we train and we get to a point where we're in a company or we're in a show and then we stop. We just take class and we warm up. I just have to, get my body warm and do. Why? Why are you doing that? You just built up all this valuable time and practice sharpening this beautiful instrument, and then you get to where you want to go and you stop. Like, how does that work? Like, how can your instrument be in tip-top shape, stay in tip-top shape, stay in tip-top accessibility, right? So when choreographers ask you to do that double tour to the knee, you can do it. You don't
Yes,
have
you
to
do.
go back to the drawing board on all of these things. You have got to stay. I know when I got to the Ailey company, man, I don't think I ever missed class.
No.
I'm always in class. Always in class. I mean, you have got to stay there. This instrument is going to break down on its own. Things are going to break down by themselves, right? So
Right.
why are you helping it? When you don't stay in tip-top form, you're aiding and abetting. You're not helping it at all. Keep that instrument sharp. It also goes to your integrity. It goes to that integrity of practice within the form. You've practiced all your life. Some people have been dancing since they were 3 years old. You get to the company you dreamt of, and you stop.
Yeah, you have to maintain your craft. Yeah.
My students know that. Like I preach this like ad nauseum. You have got to stay in tip top shape. It keeps you available. It keeps you accessible to the movement. You can do whatever. If a choreographer says do da, 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 you're not sore. You're not, your body is ready to go.
Yes, absolutely. And I was always a believer a technique class, because in the morning that 90-minute class it set me up perfectly
Of course it does.
throughout the day. And I can't believe, if I go to rehearsal without a class, wow, that rehearsal, it's just always something is not right. You don't feel comfortable. You're not there. And I cannot imagine go on stage without a warm up or have a technique class in the afternoon. I just absolutely cannot. I have never done it once in my life.
And
I cannot imagine.
Right.
I know you have this strict rule, and then I know you have pulled students off the performances without, if they're missing the class. You are absolutely so strict with that. And I think that attitude has to come from the school. The teachers have to create that healthy professional habit for the students that's beneficial for the rest of their career.
Yeah. But Runchild, this is the thing. We've been doing it. Like in our training, regardless of what dance school you went to, didn't your teacher have you take class, and you took that class and then maybe went into a rehearsal or went into another class? Your body expects that. Now you have built up all of that. You've built up the practice. Your body is like, hey, where's my class? That's what your body is saying. And sometimes once we get on tour and once we get into the thick of it and, oh, I got this piece tonight, so I'm going to skip class. Don't fool yourself. Don't fool yourself. Your body is going, but I need my class. You playing, you tired, but I need my class. You know what I'm saying? So it's that beautiful practice that we're teaching, at Towson. Come on, get in here and get this class. Come on, get in here and get this class, so that hopefully once they embark on their professional career, they know
sustain that attitude.
Sustain it. Exactly.
Yeah. And speaking of a class, I know you are busier than ever, pandemic or no pandemic. You are just never stopped. In fact, you dove right in. You recently taught a Zoom class. How many? I saw the entire class was absolutely fabulous. But can you tell audience how many people that you taught that day?
Oh, like 90.
You had 2 companies combined, correct?
Yeah, I taught
Hubbard Street.
I had taught one with Hubbard Street and Alvin Ailey, And thank you, Hubbard Street, for inviting me. That was one, and I'm not even, that was like 87 that you could see on Zoom, but they also broadcasted on Facebook Live and Instagram Live. And then the
I
second one,
saw it was like 5 pages.
there was like three companies. It was Hubbard Street, Alvin Ailey, and Lamone, and that was like 90 something people, which to me is crazy. And one of the beautiful things about this pandemic is that we can, oh, I've never taken Mr. Runchild's class.
Yes.
Oh, let me see what that's like. You know, I live in California. I can never get anywhere on the East Coast to take Mr. Runchild's class. Look, I can take it. You know, you can take it within the safety of your home. You can take judgment free. You know, some of us who are a little bit antsy about being in class around a whole bunch of other people, you can take it in your house. You could turn your camera off and take it. You know, I think that's one of the beautiful things is that we can all come together and share, and you can take advantage of other people's classes, you know, from the comfort of your home. So that was crazy. I'm logging on and I'm on my iPad, so I got to swipe.
I saw it.
And it was amazing. What an amazing opportunity.
So for the students today, you know, we have this extraordinary situation where our normal practice, normal schedule is being interrupted. So, however, I don't think anything should be sacrificed whole lot. Just like you say, you one door closed. Okay, we cannot go to the studio, practice in person, have a correction right away within 6 feet from my teachers. But in the way, just like you said, I can take class worldwide, literally. So, you know, nothing really. There's always an opportunity somewhere. So this is also what I want to share to the students. Yes, your class, it is being interrupted. You know, we had to, of course, Towson, like everywhere else, everything had to switch online and via WebEx, Zoom, and everything else. But one door closes, the other door open. So if you put yourself out there, you can get a nutrient from other opportunities. The fact was not available to you before. So in that sense, that just like what I see, how active you are, not only teaching, but you're taking other people's classes, you make your day just as active, as engaging as possible. So young people, you know, I see some students are understandably a bit of a shock with this sudden change. Okay, young people have a less of an ability than perhaps you and I to adapt changes. Right away, you incorporate yourself into a new situation, and you not only survive, you thrive. Right? But we almost can't ask young people, like a 20-year-old, to have the same ability and tenacity like you and I have. But at the same time, I want to say to you that it can be done in the way that is so engaging and it's in so active, because the resources, the beauty of the internet, the resources out there for you. So my advice, just like Miss Linda said, take the opportunity. Take a class from a European teacher, a Russian teacher, everything. You know, the opportunities out there for you. So don't be discouraged. And I think in the fall, we don't know what the fall is going to be look like. I mean, it looks like people are hopeful about, but really we don't know. So every person needs to really gear up and find a way that make this period of time to be as meaningful and as to be as beneficial as possible, despite the challenging situations.
You know, I try to tell my students that I had at the time of the whole lockdown and, you know, social distancing and sheltering in place. We talked about it. I told you I leave a lot of space for conversation. How y'all doing? And let them vent. And they had the right to vent. I had seniors in there who had the expectation of performing, of doing this really incredible performance and walking across the stage, you know, graduating with full regalia. And they've been cheated. They've been cheated. And we talked about that. I said, you know what? Be pissed off. Be mad. You know what I mean? Take that moment and be mad. I said, who am I to tell you that, go get over it? No, you be angry. Let that happen. But then in the same vein, one of the assignments that I gave them, twice a week, they had to take somebody else's class. Look, you got this online thing. Let's dive in. Dive in, tell me. And then they had to report back how they liked it, how they didn't like it. And it could have been anything physical. It could have been Pilates. It could have been yoga. It could have been anything. And they enjoyed it. They had such a good time getting in there and like, oh, I took this class today. I never thought about lifting weights, but here I am with my weights. I had a great time. I'm going to take this class again. So they learned how to flip. Okay, this is miserable, but I get a chance to take all of these classes, and this is so cool. So you once again have to listen to your students and see what's going on, what's bothering you, what's the problem. Not negate what they're saying. Listen to them. Whatever they're saying is valuable and it matters, without saying, oh, don't feel that way. No, tell me how you feel. Okay, I understand. And then give them other views, give them other possibilities for them to think about. And I'm telling you, that was one of the best things that I experienced with the lockdown, is reading my students' reports from the different classes, and then they had to video themselves doing it. Funny and beautiful all at the same time, because it just really showed how they flipped their attitudes around and dove into all of the opportunities that they have now, and that's the thing. You're not going to always be given a rosy situation. So we can't pout about it. How are we going to flip it around so that we stay viable?
These two things has to happen simultaneously. One, allow the expression. Second, direct the feelings towards somewhere positive. I think that these two things has to happen. One, as a teacher, has to happen both at the simultaneously. And I think it is what happened to those seniors are brutal. It's absolutely, they worked. It's just one of those situations. It's heartbreaking. Kirov Academy just had a virtual graduation. It was unbelievable. I cried and I laughed and I cried again. I laughed again. I'm an adult. I look at those kids. Yeah, I look at those kids. It's heartbreaking in the way that it's profound. The feeling is profound. And sometimes I learn a lot of things from my students, to see how innocent they are, to see how actually gracious they are about it. They still have a smile face on. They still treat it. Sometimes they lift me up, because there would be, we see things, it impact us differently. Sometimes we are more sensitive to certain topics.
Yeah.
But then I look at the students and it gives me hope, honestly. And I receive energy and hope and that kind of inspiration that normally you would expect from somebody elder, somebody more experienced.
Yeah.
But I get inspired from my students.
Absolutely. Oh my God. Daily. That's the thing about making this transition to an educator. First of all, you have to want to do it. You can't just go, oh, maybe I can teach.
No,
maybe
it doesn't work that way.
Maybe you can, but if you don't have the passion, and if you're not generous, and if you're not giving, don't do it. I would say don't.
Yeah.
You have to want, like that. Like, I have a passion for teaching. I can walk in the building and have no energy, and I mean none. I don't sleep well. I can come in just a hot mess and go and teach a class and come out of that like, whoa, that was so much fun, because of the exchange of energy from my students, what they give to me, how they internalize and negotiate the things that I give them, and come out and find new stuff. They have new discoveries each and every class. Well, you can't market that. That feeling is priceless. And I felt that passion when I started teaching. I started teaching The Ailey Company, no pressure. Masazumi Chaya, who was the associate artistic director, he came up to me during my first year in the company and said, "Would you like to give company class?"
Wow.
Are you kidding me? I mean, you have to
Yeah.
imagine I'm in the company and I'm dancing with my idols. I'm dancing with people who I grew up idolizing and wished that I could be in the same bracket. Like Desmond Richardson was in class, Sarita Allen, Deborah Manning, like all these, Renee Robinson, all these people were at the bar. And I'm supposed to teach them, like for real? That's crazy, right? So me being adventurous, sure. Why don't I give class? And from that day, I don't know how many years ago, since the early 90s, I got something out of it. Like I got this, maybe it's selfish, but I got rejuvenated each and every time I taught a class, or if I can give out some information that could help somebody, even the professional that's up to here, if I can give you something that'll help that turn or help you find your rotation or help you roll through your spine, man, that's such a high. Oh my God. So I think since then, at teaching somebody of this caliber and then teaching high school students and teaching the serious college student and then teaching my campers who sometimes don't know their right from their left, I can still find the passion, right? I can still find that energy that they give to me, because I see through whatever I'm giving to them, how they're growing, how it helps them. Oh, or even if I give them something and they messed around and had fun. Look at you. You done had fun moving around in the dance class. That is, I can't tell you how empowering that is, to my spirit.
Yeah. You have to be, I think generosity is one of the also important quality to
Yeah.
be a effective teacher. You have to be a generous teacher,
Yes.
generous person in order for you to even free of share your feelings and
Yes.
knowledge,
Yes.
because then reciprocates, the energy will come back from the students. So this exchange happening in the studio creates results.
Yes.
Because if you put up a wall, then the wall will come up from the student side.
Yes, it will. And then where's the energy?
Yes, it frees. It will freeze. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, we yet to know what is 3 months or 2 months, even a month from now, what's going to be like, which is a bit of unsettling for us, especially knowing that New York Broadway canceled a lot of shows, the company canceled all the way to 2021. I mean, it's just shocking. I mean, it's just, how do we prepare ourselves? How does dancers or art industry is yet to know what's going to be after the pandemic?
Oh my God.
How should the dancers and the students prepare themselves for the opening, for whatever that happens after? What do we do at this moment? For example, you and I, we work for school and we lead the school, we prepare our courses, everything. So somewhat structured. But for the students, let's say all graduate students, okay, they're getting ready to go to New York. They're getting ready to look for that job. First of all, we don't know whether the job is going to be there or not, because a lot of things shift. It will take quite some time to come back to some kind of normalcy. I don't even know whether we're going to come back to the exactly normal or evolve into something else.
Yeah, yeah.
The tasks in front of those kids are tremendous.
Yeah, they are.
Can you help them a little bit to how do you prepare them as a top condition mentally and physically, and how do we position themselves in the area where when the opportunity comes, they're ready to go?
This is just my opinion.
Go ahead.
There are many things I would suggest. Number one, create a routine. You've always had a routine. So even within the pandemic, set up some sort of schedule. You wake up a certain time. You start with a class. You have all of these opportunities to take additional classes. So perhaps that Pilates class that you never had time to take, maybe it's time. You know, you can dive in and take those things to try to keep your body, your instrument in tip-top shape. That's one. Also, I've been journaling and like writing little things down, little notes of appreciation, things that actually I like better in the quarantine, like meetings. I love the WebEx meeting. I didn't save no gas. I didn't have to drive anywhere. I didn't have to fight anybody in traffic. I can see everybody. I can hear. We can get through the agenda. Like certain things work. So make note of things. What really worked in this space, right? Also, all of those contacts, you know, that we have a list of people that we wanted to contact in different companies and write them out. You have time to do those things. You have time to build a website. You have time to compile all of your documents in one place, because at some point we're going to come out of this.
You're going to need it, yeah.
And you have to have that hope that one day we're coming out of this, right? And so you don't want to have wasted that time.
The time.
That's one thing we have right now is we have it feels like I don't have any time, but but a lot of people have time. And so maybe creating a schedule, you know, the day before, okay, tomorrow I'm going to do this, 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 and this. I'm going to write this company, this. And the companies might not have answers for you, you know, in this pandemic, but you have made those contacts. You have reached out. Also explore other elements of your career. Let's say if you're really focused on performing, that's cool. But then at some point, you might want to get into education, or you might want to get into grant writing, or you might want to get into being a dance critic, or whatever. There's countless careers, right? Maybe take this time to explore that avenue. You know, do the research and say, you know, I'm still trying to stay in tip-top shape, but I wonder about this master's program, or I wonder about this other program. Like you have the time. So use it wisely, but create some sort of a physical practice so that when you are finally in class, it's not a struggle to touch your toes. You would have touched your toes prior.
Yes, I totally agree with you. To tackle on things that you can do now. Let's say you want to create your personal website, create your perfect resume, put all your dance wheels together, and create a portfolio. It's in perfect shape, updated. This is the time to do it, because when it opens, you would be regret. I should have spent the time to do this, because it's gonna ask for it. That's one thing that my advice. Absolutely, totally agreed with you said. I want to add also the virtual aspect of this art form is going to stay after the pandemic's over, because just like you, I discovered a whole bunch of things that we can do virtually, actually are very effective. Because of the pandemic, we discovered our art form can reach far and wider than before, because people start recognize and respect the ability of virtual learning. So therefore, there's a beauty. A lot of companies and have virtual seasons. And they open doors. They provide opportunity for many people normally wouldn't pay attention to, let's say, New York City Ballet spring season. Now they're looking at it, and this is a phenomenon that we always kind of we change, we evolve with the environment. So it's nothing planned. Nobody planned this pandemic, and nobody planned this virtual booming of the industry. So we, I think, as a young students, has to be fully adapt that new reality. Also explore new opportunities within that virtual new industry, if you will, the new way of communication, the new way of create dialogue, get your message across. So it's time for the young people to be the cutting edge of that. And how can we make our voice to be heard? Or image to be seen, a much greater global.
That's what I would say, is that This has just made the world smaller, which is a beautiful thing, right? So you're thinking about marketing, different companies. Some parts of the world may have never heard of certain companies, and now you can filter through and get to those parts of the world now in the virtual learning. But I know there's nothing that substitutes being in person, taking that class face to face, seeing that company or that show right there in real time. Nothing's going to replace that. But I feel like maybe a virtual performance to me is like an appetizer. It's not a full meal.
It's not real, but
a taste of beauty that you can see in person. So maybe that's another marketing tool. Take a class, see this, some sort of full package, virtual package as a taster or a teaser. That's something to consider as well.
And even our form, the adult ballet class is absolutely booming.
Oh yeah.
Because all the schools are forced to give adult classes online. So all adult dance students, they are our number one fan. They're the people who subscribe to your company. They're the people going to donate that from $20 to $20,000. They are our biggest fan. But they are always kind of underground, if you will. But that's a big movement. Every company, every school has adult program. So right now, the adult classes are booming because students found convenience. Taking a safe class. They don't have to deal with the traffic. They pay online. They take the class. Sometimes you don't have to see them, but they enjoy the art.
Absolutely. And
so we are taking the art into people's living rooms.
Listen to them.
To me, it's profound.
Yeah, listen to them. See, that's the thing, is that the dancing adult, we have these things called jobs and kids and places to be. And that kind of gets in the way of you getting to that class. Like we always, oh man, I need that class. I love dancing. I miss it. So the virtual environment has allowed that convenience of them. Right. But I would use this time to survey them. You guys, when we open, would you come back? When we reopen, what times really work for you? If we reopen, what virtual times work? Because maybe you keep an element of virtual class for them, or whatever. But that's going to be, maybe that becomes like a cornerstone of an organization.
That's global, because internet, it's global. Somebody can take a ballet class from Finland. I mean, I have students taking my class from India, Miss Linda, India.
That's amazing.
Like across from the world. And to me, that is just fascinating. Of course, nothing can replace the excitement, that magic in the theater, the magic to take a master class from a teacher that give you a personal correction. Nothing can replace that. But it, again, force us to think differently about our art form. That the art form that is being a tradition, we go to theater to see ballet, we go to a classroom to take a class from teacher. This has been there for longest time. But because this pandemic actually forced us to think there's other ways to be engaged, to get a message across. And this is that's why I found myself and professionals like you, I'm very busy. And it is exciting in the way that, because it's new. Right. So this is something I encourage to students, to young people, to be inventive, to be innovative, to be passionate. And of course they need our support to do just all that.
And also Runchow, they can take this time to think about new career opportunities based on this new virtual environment. Like I can see in the future the need for all companies to have a virtual media manager.
Absolutely.
Somebody that's going to manage all these classes and organize them and get people into the class and advertise and get the workout or the word out. So I'm seeing some careers or potential careers formulate. So maybe that's a way in. Maybe you're thinking of an internship with a company. Pow, there you go. You know, how can you be maybe the media or virtual manager for that company or something like that?
Absolutely. And I am excited. I am also, you know me, we're always constantly thinking, and sometimes we are constantly, not some all the time, analyzing what we do and how do we put ourselves in the best position. Even you and
Yeah.
I know we're doing that to make sure, as an educator and as an artist and as a advocator of for young people, and how do we serve them, how do we guide them, how do we inspire them the best way we can.
Yeah.
um, it is exciting and also a tremendous moment for all of us, um, artistically and politically as well. It's even more important for young artists to understand their voice in society.
Mhm.
How do we play our part to express ourselves in compassion, love,
Yeah.
and um, and sacrifice, and
Hmm.
sacrifice. Those very cornerstone of the society, those ideas. How do we reinforce, use our body and soul, and our technique
Yeah.
of our art form to empowering and to change the practice, so-called status quo practices.
Mhm.
So do the work and keep your technique in tip-top condition.
Mhm.
And just like you said, open up your eyes, look at your surroundings, to be involved, to
Mhm.
be active,
Mhm.
to be a role model,
Yeah.
and all those things that it is set in front of us for
You know,
us to
you said
do.
role model, which is kind of funny. I always tell, especially company, when I'm directing company, and let's say if we have a group of kids that comes in either through a lecture demonstration or they come into the actual studio to watch, I always say, you never know who's watching you. You never know what little kid watched you that day and said, oh God, he was so beautiful or she was so beautiful. That's what I want to do. I said, you have to always think about that. Sometimes you don't want to think about it. I don't want anybody to look at me and think anything, but you could be inspiring someone, and that's so powerful when young people come in to watch you, you know,
Right,
how are
right,
you?
right.
Because that's how I was impacted. I went
Mm-hmm.
to the theater and saw these incredible dancers and went, "Oh my God, I know what I want to do in life." You have that power to inspire.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Miss Linda, I hope we can see each other soon, and I truly miss our all time together, all the conversations, just to support that you giving me and we giving each other. And I truly inspired by your energy and your presence, just in general, as a person, as an artist, and as a teacher.
Thank you.
So I want to thank you for your generosity. Thank you for your artistry. And I know everyone out there is appreciating you um, every day. And I hope to see you truly soon. Okay,
Yes, me too,
truly.
Run Child. Like I live those moments when you walk through the hall. I'm like, hey, what you doing? And we just have the most amazing chats, and sometimes we just laugh and laugh, and just being your friend and colleague is just a highlight of what I do. When you go into the university, that's what I miss too. Is that the virtual space. You can't get that visit.
You can the feeling. You know what I miss most? We're taking things so much for granted. You know, in the last fall, after the Townsend's last concert, Mr. Vincent had a little gathering in his condominium
Yeah,
in Townsend, remember?
yeah.
It was less than 10 people. It was you, me, Allison, Adam, and Mr. Vincent. Just a few of us. We sat and we just talked about just beautiful things, and we just enjoy each other's company. And you know what? You just never know what next 3 months, literally, when was that? This was December. 2 months later, it was the world changed.
Yeah.
So
Great.
I look back, it's like should take nothing for granted. Even that little gathering now sounds so beautiful to me. And I talked to Allison the other day, and I was like, those things are what's keeping me going.
Yeah.
You appreciate things that you don't have now. So I appreciate you very much, and let's see each other soon. That's all I can say. Please
You.
stay healthy, and my best wish to you and love to you and your own beautiful family.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Kim.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. I see you soon. Bye
Okay.
bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.